cool is that? How cool is that? What a beauty. It's funny how they will, like I drifted my hook basically that entire pool. It's really clear water, so that fish saw the gear go by who knows how many times, and then all of a sudden they just decide to bite it. Bizarre, isn't it? I was just getting ready to try out something different too. Let's see what this orange spinaglow does to his buddy. I'm sure there's more in there. I hope there's more in there. Yes. Beautiful. God, holy shit, that feels good to sit down. Whew. That was a day. I just didn't want to like it. I was going to read a whole pile of emails at the end of my fishing day today, but all hell broke loose. Sideways wind, rain, snow. I could escape it. I tried a couple spots on the way home. I think the farthest I was today was like 60 something kilometer away. And it sounds like a jackhammer way in the distance. Or a woodpecker on steroids. But anyway, yeah, I was gonna I tried a few different spots on the way home with some real cool backdrops way out there, but it didn't work out. So I made sure that I would come in here the second I got out of my pickup truck and get these shares out before I went in, because I am absolutely done like dinner. As soon as I get this fishing shit off, have a shower, I'm not gonna do nothing. I'm done. It's funny, all you anglers, all you hunters out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say it is kind of funny how we say we need a break, we need to get out in the great outdoors and have a break, but meanwhile, it beats the shit out of you way worse than work physically. You're just done at the end of the day. But I got up at 4:30 this morning, basically got up, put the clothes on and left. So you drive for an hour and a bit, whatever it was, and then you hike in waders, and you beat the shit out of your feet on river rock, and you hike up and down against the current and all around and fall over logs and cast and cast and cast and cast. And then by the end of the day, you're melting. So here I am. But anyway, what I do, I hooked, I had six steelhead fights, and I got my hands on 3 of them. I'll probably open up this video, you would have seen them by now. A couple of them, one of them. Well, I would have thrown something in there anyway. So that was pretty cool. It was a good day. The great creator gifted me with those super awesome experiences. Anyway, a little chilly in here. What was I going to share with you guys? Quick word for some biologists out there. I had somebody a friend of mine forward me a clip of Joe Rogan talking to some dude, some biologist that actually calls himself a celebrity wildlife biologist. Sorry, I'm not trying to be rude, it's just celebrity. Imagine announcing yourself as a celebrity, anything. Oh my God. Yeah, how to lose the intelligent crowd. Announce you're a celebrity. Done. Out the door. But anyway, just a quick word for you guys. I've had a few people try to engage with me and sling their dick in a way, announcing they're a wildlife biologist, and then going on some kind of a rant or tirade, whatever you want to call it. Emailed me, a few of these characters have emailed me in the past. And what a lot of people don't realize is if you are a wildlife biologist and you actually think that that has anything to do with the topic of these beings, you're sadly very, very wrong. For a wildlife biologist to be considered any kind of authority or expert or anything when it comes to these topics, it's basically like asking a vegan for big game hunting knowledge. It just does not make any sense at all. All right? Sorry if that offends you, but I am the messenger. All right? I'm the messenger. I'm unfortunately going to be the one that's going to have to clue in a handful of you people out there who have went to school and earned your biology degree that has sweet piss all to do when it comes to this topic. And that's a fact. So, sit down in the classroom and listen to the people. That's the only place you're going to learn about these beings and this crazy ass shit that's going on is the people. And if you really, really, really want to dig, you better go earn the respect of some First Nations elders and see if they will clue you in. That's all we got right now, right? Aside from a handful of scientists who, only because of fluke association with these beings at various places, they have some information for us. Only because they didn't seek it out intentionally to start off with. It's just after having dozens of face-to-face encounters with these beings at various sites, they were eventually put forward to investigate these beings, and they have a lot of knowledge. But if you think wildlife biology, wildlife biologists are going to have anything helpful, any kind of helpful knowledge when it comes to this topic, you're wrong. Not a chance in hell. It's all right. I'm the messenger. I had to tell you. Somebody had to tell you. Don't shoot the messenger. This one shoots back, right? But anyway, probably asking me what I'm doing with all these trail cameras. I'm getting a handful of cameras ready to go with me on my trip up north. I got my SD cards blanked out, and now I have to try all the cameras individually before I even leave, so I don't waste my precious time up there when I leave them. And the next time I'll see these cameras will be in September. And I'm intentionally going to leave a couple cameras to get an absolute Godzilla monstrous grizzly bear on them. Hopefully a few times. So I'm excited about that too. But anyway, let's get on with it. Enough about me and my frickin' useless babbling, alright? Celebrity biologist. Oh my God. You imagine if you had a curiosity of what the hell's going on out on the face of the real planet, in the real world, which is nature today. So you invite a, quote, celebrity wildlife biologist to come on board and clue you into what's going on with the Sasquatch/Sabe people. Sorry, that just made me, it makes me laugh out loud. Oh, God, I'll tell you what. All right, here we go. Celebrity biologist, holy shit. All right, here we go. Listen to this. 2 visual Sasquatch encounters by 2 law enforcement officers, LEOs. Hello, Steve. You said in a recent video that you wanted to hear from LEOs, so here you go. I've been on your channel for some time and have followed your journey as the voice for the folks who have encountered these Sasquatch beings. You have my and so many others' gratitude for providing a place for the folks to safely share their stories and to share knowledge about this topic with the rest of us. Who I am is not so important, so I'll spare you my background other than say that I'm a veteran federal LEO with over 30 years experience. That said, I followed this topic for many years and tried to learn as much about these beings as I could. Only a complete idiot would look at the overwhelming and clear evidence of the existence of Sasquatch and still come away saying it's all fake and bullshit. Yeah, no shit, man. And thanks for the kind words and thanks for coming out. Yeah, you would, but you know what? Reality TV and Jerry Springer need their audiences, right? All right, and the celebrity wildlife biologist too, right? I'm writing to share the encounters of 2 of my friends who are both veteran law enforcement officers with decades of experience. Both men are stand-up professionals and about as honest and straightforward as they come. Both have impeccable credentials and their honesty and candor is absolute. I asked them to share their stories. Both said let her rip. Right on, let's get into it. Encounter 1 is from a friend who is still a working police sergeant of 20 years experience in Northern California. In January this year, he was driving through southern Humboldt County in northwestern California around 8 p.m. when he rounded a corner on the highway at about 45 miles per hour and witnessed a very large being laying sideways on the side of the paved road along the white fog line at the shoulder. When he saw it, he slowed and noticed it was propped up on its elbow and facing away from him. He said it was enormous and thickly muscled, was brownish in color, and approximately 7 feet tall. This man has spent hundreds of days in the woods, hunted, and been around many bears. He drove around the corner in a state of disbelief at what he'd just seen, then turned around to go back. When he came back a couple minutes later, the Sasquatch was gone. Nobody knows why it was laying there on the side of the highway, but perhaps it had been struck by a vehicle and injured or dazed. This region of Northern California has had many, many sightings over the years. He is now a member of the Club of No Return. I'll say he is. The second encounter I'll share is from my closest friend, who is a veteran federal LEO who was my partner at an agency for several years before he transferred to another federal agency in Washington State. He has lived his life in the woods and knows his business back in front. When the friend in the first encounter shared a story with me, I decided to contact my Washington State buddy, who lives in one of the most notorious locations for Sasquatch sightings / encounters in North America, the Mount St. Helens region of the coastal Cascade Range. I just had a feeling and followed your guidance when asking someone about possible encounters. I called him on the phone one recent evening and, in a very serious manner, I asked if he'd ever seen or heard anything strange while on patrol. He went quiet for a moment and said, "Do you mean Bigfoot?" I said, "Yes." The phone got quiet for a handful of seconds, and he said that what he was about to tell me, he had never told anyone before. And this is his story. In September / October 2008, while working up in a mountainous area of his patrol sector, he was at a gate and checking on surveillance camera on a logging road in the early morning when he heard a distinct thud hit the ground somewhere in front of his patrol vehicle, followed by an immediate grunt. He stepped around the back of his patrol vehicle, and 60 feet away, standing right on the logging road, was a male Sasquatch. It had just jumped off a steep embankment and had landed on the road on its feet. When my friend saw it, he had that disbelief cycle for a couple of seconds as he watched it walk across the logging road and down into the timber. He told me it scared the shit out of him, but he jumped in his vehicle and drove right over to where it had entered the timber just a handful of seconds earlier, and it was nowhere in sight. Despite a clear line of sight, very little ground cover, through the timber for about 100 yards. He described it as very dark, thickly built, and about 6 feet tall. This friend of mine and I have been in several scraps over the years as partner officers, and I know him to be unafraid of anyone or anything, and trust him with my life. He's a very large and powerful man, and has that switch to flip when the time comes. When he told me that the encounter scared the shit out of him, I took notice. He has kept this hidden from anyone knowing for 13 years until I asked him in a straightforward and respectful way, just as you recommended. Thanks again, Steve. Strength and honor, SRJ. Strength and honor to you too, man. And you know what? Maybe do your buddy a favor and send him this particular video. If hopefully, I'd imagine she'll watch it. And send this video to him, all right? There's nothing worse for us, for me, than to hear about all of these great people, good, hardworking, honest people who are absolutely all alone and keeping this fucked up secret hidden from anybody. It's a shitty thing. It's a shitty deal. We're putting an end to that bullshit now, right? Doing this. But if you would, possibly send him this video, right? And if this is you, sir, that came out and shared your story with the partner, thanks for doing that. We all appreciate it, and it does help somebody else, all right? Without a doubt. I will guarantee, I can't say guarantee you, but I would bet heavily that just because of this share that you just did, and your partner did through you, somebody else, that's probably going to be enough for somebody who's been sitting on the fence, harboring their lifelong sentence, which is an experience, and harboring it all to themselves, and they're going to come forward, they're going to share it, without a doubt. So, thanks again. You are helping the people, right? Through me, through this channel, but we're all here together. This channel is nothing without people like you, at all. And more members to the club in a return. And you know what, too? One more word. I would hope that you would possibly contact more people and ask them straight up if they've ever seen anything kind of odd on patrol or whatever, right? Keep digging them up. We want to hear from them. All right, what's this one? This is titled Montana, Sabe, and Little People. Hi, Steve. Just want to thank you for everything you're doing. I think that by delving into this subject, we're not putting together just the puzzle of who the Sabe beings are, but also who we are and our true history. I apologize if this gets lengthy, but I hope there are some puzzle pieces your readers can use. I hope there are some important things in here. No chicken gangsters. I'm a tomboy and I've lived in Montana my whole life. I hunt and fish, and while I do love a good pair of high-heel shoes, I'd rather be outdoors covered in dirt any day. I live on the edges of the Crow and Northern Cheyenne Indian reservations, so I've always had native friends since I was little. One of my friends on the Northern Cheyenne reservation often speaks about the Sasquatch people, just like it's not a big deal. Quote, Grandma came to visit today. I'm going into Billings to get groceries tomorrow. I saw a Sasquatch person on the edge of town yesterday, end quote. It just is. Nothing surprising about them. They just exist, and that's a fact for them. I dated a Crow man a few years, and he related his experiences to me from when he was young. His family lived in the heart of the Pryor Mountains. He also was very nonchalant about their existence. Just like, yep, they're there. He said one time when he and his brothers were little, they were playing out in the woods. They heard rustling in the brush, thinking it was a skunk or a raccoon. They started throwing rocks into the heavy brush. They heard grunts of disgust, and then a huge Sasquatch stood up. He said it had white hair, and he got the impression it was an elder, and they had disturbed his nap. He was about 8 to 9 feet tall. It started chasing them, and they ran terrified. But he said it could have caught them at any time, and he felt it just wanted them gone. He joked, looking back, it was like his yelling at them was the Sasquatch version of, damn kids, get off my lawn, LOL. He related other experiences where the Sasquatch would walk through their property. He said they came in many colors, black, brown, reddish brown, gray, or white. One female always seemed curious about the clothesline when they hung laundry out. So although they were there, they still avoided people. Oh, here comes a dog. That's not so bad. He said a fire ripped through where they lived, and most of the food sources. What's up? Right? Go play with your goat sisters. He said a fire ripped through where they lived, and most of the food sources they used were gone. He said they moved on, and they have not seen them in years. There's absolutely no bullshit in any of his stories, and I believe him 100%. And so do I. There's also a lot of tales of the Sasquatch people interacting with the little people. Now, the little people are not talked about hardly at all. They feel it's bad luck to speak of them. The little people are a race of fierce dwarf people that live in mountains and in caves and can either be helpful or hurtful, depending on how they feel about you. Chief Plenty Coup supposedly had a friendship with them and sought their counsel. There are resources on the internet if you wish to research more. Sorry, I know secondhand experiences aren't the best. Maybe I can see if any friends can be convinced to write to you with personal first-hand experiences. I'd be all over that like a fat kid on a Smartie. I've heard a lot about these, the quote, little people, end quote, and I don't know anything about them. I don't have any people in my circle with first-hand knowledge of these beings or any knowledge at all. But I have read of numerous First Nations people and other people coming forward with stories of the little people, and I've also heard that they are not so good. So, I'm all over it. I want to hear about it. I want to learn more, for sure. And where, roughly where on the continent. My personal experiences, I have no idea what the heck my experiences were. While not necessarily Sasquatch related, they're definitely what the F experiences. My friend was pregnant with her first child and wanted one last girls' camping trip before her life changed forever. We went East Rosebud Campground in the middle of the week. We found a really neat little island in a nearby creek away from the campground. It was beautiful. A little grove of trees in the middle of a small island with a clear spot just big enough for a tent. We had a wonderful cookout and we just relaxed. Read books and visited. We went to bed and in the morning I woke up to pebbles being thrown against the tent. Then I saw the tent being pushed against like someone was pushing a finger against it. I quickly unzipped the window of the tent. There was nothing there, but the finger kept pushing into the tent. I pushed back, it pushed back, then it pushed into the top of the tent. I guess I should have been alarmed, but I wasn't at all. I trust my intuition. More on that later. This did not feel like this is a harmful being. It also does not make me feel like it was a Sasquatch, even now. This felt, I guess, small is the word. I'm Irish, so I have those cultural pillars in my upbringing, and it felt like fairy or wood sprite or some little forest being, small. Non-harmful and just saying hello. We played in the bush in the tent. We played the push in the tent game for a few minutes, and then it just left. It's freaking crazy. I could see out our tent from several zip windows, and I can tell you I should have been able to see whatever this was, but was completely unseen, invisible. It's kind of a neat experience. I told my friend when she woke up, and her first thought on it was, maybe it was fairies. The next one was kind of weird and scary. My friend and I had taken a trip to Nebraska to pick up the rest of her things to move her back to Billings. We had left Harrison, Nebraska, and were driving in the dark trying to reach Crawford. That trip should have taken 30 minutes. Right outside of Harrison, a heavy fog rolled in. I had to slow down to between 45 and 55 miles an hour. Still, it should not have put us behind much. So we kept driving and driving. My friend said we should be seeing Fort Robinson any minute, but we didn't. An hour went by. We started to think maybe we missed it. It went past. And that's when things got weird. This fog felt weird, different. It's like it was vibrating. I can't explain it. Suddenly, we saw the biggest elk I'd ever seen in my life walk slowly across the road about 30 feet in front of us. I remember looking down at my speedometer, and I was doing 50 miles per hour. We should have hit this thing. But we didn't. It's like we were in slow motion, but he was not. He just casually strolled across, and when he passed to the other side, we went back to normal. I never pushed on the brakes, because although we were apparently driving, we never got any closer to him. About a half an hour later, we saw a bobcat run across the road. While the elk was slow, this thing was fast and it vibrated. It's like it had this funky vibrating energy surrounding its body. The fog lifted a while later, and we finally saw Fort Robinson. Steve, we made it to Crawford. 4 hours later. We were that trippy. We were in that trippy fog for 4 hours. We pulled over, and my friend and I just looked at each other like, what the F? My friend said, I think we were lost in shaman time. I guess we were. I felt we were lost in some in-between place or portal. There's so many weird, unexplainable things out there, not just Sabe, and they are all tied together. I believe they are too. It's crazy shit, man. For me, I'm finding puzzle pieces in odd mythology. I think personally, all mythology has some historical truth in it. My Irish and Scottish background tells the stories about the unseen folk, the Fae. The Irish call them the good folk, as to not offend them. Some are good and some are bad. Research the Tuatha De Danann. They were the original people of Ireland with magical powers, and they supposedly went to live underground when new people moved in. The Scottish have the Seelie and unseelie courts of the others. The Seelie courts are mostly ambivalent. They may be helpful or hurtful depending on how they feel about you. The unseelie court is made up of beings that are dark and always malevolent, again below ground. Iceland had its elves, and they absolutely believe they are real. Norse have the dwarfs. Every culture has its stories of hairy giants and little people. Every culture has its unseen people, the hidden people. The Bible speaks of them. Of course, everyone has mentioned the Nephilim, but don't forget the story of Esau. E-S-A-U. He was Isaac's son. Esau is described as red and hairy. He became a wandering hunter while Jacob became a shepherd. Esau gave up his right to his kingdom to Jacob. Then there's the Epic of Gilgamesh, with Enkidu. I feel we can all find missing puzzle pieces in those cultural memoirs and myths. I think when we become civilized, we want to forget about the things that scare us. I don't think it's just people in charge. I think in everyone is a part that can either force truth or wants to bury it so they don't have to deal with it. I had an experience on our archery range where I know I was being watched by a cougar. My hair stood up, and everything in my intuition told me it was a cat. I knew. But when I mentioned it to the guys on the range, they shut me down. There was no cougar. Then a cougar was caught on camera in the middle of the frickin' town. They're here. They are everywhere around us. So, if I can't get support in what I felt for something everyone agrees is a real and known animal, how can we get support from people to believe us about the unseen things? That's why this channel is so important. Believe your experiences, believe your intuition. Thanks again, Steve, for what you do. Shannon, Jean. Shannon, thanks for what you do. Thanks for sending that in. It's very helpful. I absolutely appreciate the time you just took to share that with everybody through me. And a quick note on the cat thing. Speak of the devil. Last evening, just at dusk, we have a neighbor, single mom, over to this side of the property on a rural property. She's got alpacas. And she phoned Sarah shitting herself because my horses were looking over the fence in the back 40, and she saw them looking at her property, and there was two cougar kittens standing there looking at her alpacas. So of course Sarah went into panic mode and bolted outside and locked up the chickens and locked up the goats. But just like you say, the cats are always here. They're all around us, they're always here. Just a couple screwed up and got seen. But anyway, yeah, there's a pile of deer around here too. So what I would imagine was happening was mom was in the timber, or she was hunting, grabbing a deer, and the kittens decided to come out and check out the alpacas were starting to do while mom was hunting. I would bet. But anyway, moving along. Thank you so much again for that email, and please email us more if you come across any kind of knowledge that you think is going to help the people even more, okay? Absolutely appreciate it. Well, this looks like a bit of a book. I don't think it's actually that long, have I? Let's get into it. Uncle Frank's Four Encounters. Dear Steve, you're an amazing man. I like you a lot. I think we have much in common. I grew up on a farm in Kansas, the Flint Hills, the last outpost for the great steam-powered river paddle boats. I've had 4 encounters in 3 states, one in California, Shasta Mountain, another in Massachusetts, in the Berkshire Mountains, and 2 in Kansas. It all began at 5 years old. Holy shit. I was allowed to go out with the man hunting. Only one rule: no noise, no talking, no coughing. You cannot even snip your snot. So, I was trained as a tracker, trapper, hunter, and fisherman. I have many pieces of knowledge to share with the people, the Club of No Return, the Round Table of Knowledge. At age 8, I received a much anticipated copy of my favorite magazine, Boy's Life. Many should remember that magazine. Well, this particular issue featured an article on Patty, the Patterson-Gimlin film. So scary, we immediately asked our father, is it true? We grew up learning all about this creature. Only the names were different. We never heard Bigfoot, Sasquatch, or Sabe. We called it Momo, short for Missouri Monster. Daddy said, yes, it's real. Ruptured quadricep, floppy tits, grandma's butt. My head was always on a swivel after that. The only way of describing Patty, I guess. First encounter came at 18 in Kansas. My girlfriend got a babysitting job and saved all her money and bought an old car, a '69 Belvedere. Late July, cruising on family farm roads, 50 to 60 different kinds of fruits and vegetables, watermelon and cantaloupe fields, apple and peach orchards, strawberry fields. We picked up 2 of my nephews and went to the apple orchard. It had a meadow at the back and a big patch of woods at the end, all surrounded by a huge U-shaped swamp. Hot summer night, full moon, crickets chirping, fireflies everywhere. It got real quiet. Suddenly, a roar came out of the woods. It was so tremendous I could feel it in my chest. My girlfriend and both nephews started crying, asking, "What is it, Uncle Frank? What is it?" I knew what it was, but I did not want to scare my people, so I said, "I don't know, but we have to leave right now." The sounds did not stop, but morphed into a rolling peal of thunder. Bone-chilling scream, followed by a horrendous sound screamed like a stuck pig when you plunge a butcher knife in them, only much worse. Like instead of a pig, it was more like a stuck mule, screaming bloody murder like something was twisting its head off. When we had to haul it back to the car, I could see in the tree line, but I did not want to scare my people and say, "There he is." The smell wafting on the breeze was so intense it would hurt you, like a skunk, only 100 times worse. I dare not try to tell my other 3 encounters. I dare not try to tell my other 3 encounters now. This email is so long already. I'll save them for future shares. My pieces of the puzzle are hardly ever been mentioned. You came close by saying bears snapping their jaws, but I think John Black mentioned the chattering of teeth, maybe one other. I have 3 stories where this is a major component of the story. The amount of energy required to do this is immense. Also, the level of emotion needed to actually do it is intense. Just try it. I could do it when I was younger, but not now. The 3 men who had monstrous sabes in their face chattering their teeth at them is the ultimate threat. People will be mad if I don't tell the 3 stories right now, so I feel that I must. Sorry so long. I said I have much to share. Keep it going. The chattering of teeth. A man camping alone in Denali. A 12-foot black Sasquatch came into his camp. His 200-pound Malamute hid under the Toyota Tundra. He started firing warning shots at it at close range. He said it was not scared and began chattering its teeth at him. He declined to shoot it in the head or the heart because he wasn't sure if it would kill it, and it looked too human. It finally went away, and he packed up and got out. Number 2. A man coon hunting in the swamp of Folk, Arkansas. With a buddy, they split up. He heard his friend's dogs tree a coon, and his dogs also treed a coon. He was about to shoot it when he heard footsteps sloshing in the water behind him. The water was about 2 feet deep. He turned around, and a 9-foot-tall, pitch-black Sasquatch came up and started growling at him. His gun was loaded and pointed right at him, but he didn't want to shoot it unless he had to. His dogs, normally fearless, were trying to get between his legs. Lipper coon hounds, the biggest, meanest of all dogs, scared shitless. The Sasquatch began scooping water with his hand and splashing it on him and started chattering his teeth at him. He was sure it was going to kill him, and he was about to pull the trigger when all of a sudden his dogs had a resurgence of bravery and began growling and barking viciously. He could barely hold them. The Sasquatch backed off and began moving away, sloshing as he went. He hauled ass back to his truck. He sold his dogs and his guns and never went to hunt again. They were champions before. And another one bites the dust. Number 3, a deer hunter in a blind 20 feet high overlooking a field when a herd of wild pigs came into view. Then 2 Sasquatches came out of the woods hunting the pigs. He thought they were juveniles, a brother and a sister. He watched them through his high-powered scope the whole time. The female took 3 steps, about 50 feet, and swiped the back legs out from under a hog, crashing it in a heap, and was instantly upon it. She began punching it. He said he could hear the bones breaking as she was punching it. Then picked it up and tucked it under her arm like nothing and walked over to the tree stand where he was sitting and began chattering her teeth up at him, as if to say, "I can slap your feet and punch your bones." He said she was very beautiful and had perky breasts like a young girl. He thought she was about 17 in human years. That's a crazy statement. I have much more to share and will do so in coming emails. A shout out to Sarah for her awesome cooking show. I love it. Also, she has strengthened you by it because 2 are stronger than 1. You're both well loved by the people tremendously, and you have become like Maximus Decimus Meridius, the general, a leader of men. Great affection and loyalty, more than you know, like the loyals people have never met, yet they love them fiercely. If you were to say to me, "You must die for General Steve," I would ask you, what time? Everything happens for a reason. Okay, man, thanks for the kind words. Responsibility is like electricity and water. It comes to rest on the shoulders of those best able to bear it. You're that man. Your heart and your brain have put you where you are now. Be careful. I, too, have known that we can be gone in a blink of an eye. I lay low because I know they can send me to Guantanamo. The catch and release of that magnificent steelhead was the best thing you could have done. I, too, am a killer. Most people are not. I learned not to speak about hunting with the wrong people because they will go crazy. Not many people can do it. Very few have the skills. I only talk about it with other hunters. Steelhead catch and release, priceless. Sorry for so long. It's been a long time coming since I've been watching from the start. I have to add the answer to the question of the Nephilim. 1/3 of the angels cast down from heaven, they took daughters of men. The N were born, God didn't like it. The Nephilim were born, God didn't like it. So he told Noah to build the ark and were destroyed in the flood. N, capital N, period, were destroyed in the flood. Angels lost their ability to have fleshly bodies. No more N. The Nephilim passed away after the flood. No more N. Sorry, I too cap it with a big puzzle piece. I think it might be a typo. Sorry, I too cap it with a big puzzle piece. Also, you're like a sponge as I am. All the stories build up in your brain and you can carry them with you always. A lifetime of learning is a lot to absorb. You're so strong. Thanks for all you do. Please don't ever stop. People need you. Godspeed. And you're praying for you. In Spanish, we have a saying. May God watch over your soul and your family. Use my name, Uncle Frank in Indiana. Uncle Frank, thank you so much for sending that in, all right? And make sure you send the rest. Make sure you send whatever you got, okay? And it's helping people. Oh, everybody's helping each other here, okay? Every one of you is helping each other tremendously. And all the people sitting there in the quiet section in the background, and you're very welcome here too. And you don't have to come forward with anything as long as you're back here, as long as you're here and you're listening to the people and it's helping your ass. That's perfect. All right. But we need more Franks. We need more people to come forward. We need more people to share because it's just helping people nonstop. It's such a good thing. All right, here we go. I'm frickin' frozen. This looks like a gooder, but I'm diving in. Here we go. I gotta get in. I gotta see what my steelhead looks like. Coincidentally, this man just mentioned steelhead, and I just came from catching a whole bunch of them. Dear sir, I wrote a letter to you recently, and I would like to add a little more information about myself. My name is Warren Behringer, and I grew up on a small farm in southeast Louisiana. Property only amounted to less than 25 acres, but when you add the rest of the rural community, it seemed like the entire world. It was here that I first came into contact with something very special that only now I'm starting to understand. I had woods on both the east and west side of the property. As an adult now, I would not call it a forest simply due to its size, but as a 3-year-old, it was tremendous. I was drawn to the eastern woods very strongly by a voice. And whenever my family and I were out in the yard, or especially in the garden, I would constantly try to go off by myself, but was always called back and told never go there by myself. So I would always ask my older brother, father, anyone actually to go with me, but was always denied. Well, one day in the early spring, my brother had gone to school, and it was just my mother and myself at home, and I decided to take advantage of the situation and finally go. As I approached the edge of the woods, I was full of excitement and awe, as I had never been there before, and was seeing... As I approached the edge of the woods, I was full of excitement and awe, as I had never been there before, and was seeing all sorts of things I never knew existed, which is funny to say as I look back on that day. I found a small game trail and started on it, going deeper and deeper into the woods when I heard hello. I responded with, "Hi, who are you?" And that is how my life changed forever. It was then that a huge reddish-orange hairy man stepped out from behind a tree onto the path and stood looking down on me. I've never heard the term Bigfoot or Sasquatch at this time, and it would not have mattered anyway, to be honest about it. He was just a guy in the woods, and we were talking. Actually, my guess is that it was female, but none of that seemed important to me. In any case, I could hear the faint cry of my mother calling me as she rang the bell on the porch, and reluctantly I left. I got home to find my mother furious, claiming I was gone for hours. I tried to explain it all, fell on deaf ears. What had seemed only 45 minutes at best to me now actually took over 6 hours. Here comes a horse, and here come 2 horses and 2 goats. They kept going. It's just a gong show here, man. Let me start that again. Sorry. What had seemed only 45 minutes at best to me now actually took over 6 hours. Boy, was I in trouble. I had a fairly good grasp on language at that age, better than most do as far as I can tell, but what I did not have was believability. I was kept on a short leash for a few days and eventually snuck back to see my new friend, only he/she wasn't there. A couple months later, I ran into him again. By this time, I had a name of George associated with him because he was looking like Curious George to me. I began bringing treats to him when I go out to visit him, which were essentially peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Maybe some cookies from the cookie jar, but more often than not, he wasn't there. My mother, being concerned and interested, followed me one day without me knowing and found me sitting in the woods calling out for George to come. It was then that George became my invisible friend as far as my family was concerned. This relationship, George and myself, continued for approximately 3 or 4 years, but it was never the same as when we first met. The last time I saw George was when I was in the 1st grade. By this time I was starting school and life was complicated because suddenly I no longer had time for him. He had taught me so much over the course of those 4 years, but by now he was becoming increasingly invalid, a joke, a reason for ridicule. I would hear less and less of him in my life as I got older. Once I made my first kill hunting, that time in Florida, I mentioned in my email, and the last time back around the year 2000, which was the last I ever heard from him. Because of him, I never hunted wild game again after my first kill. I understand why people do it, but for the most part, I think it's truly unnecessary for the rest. I became an expert in the Army, hunting and tracking people. I may not have been the best, but I was The rare person to find my when I was out and about. One more time. I may not have been the best, but it was the rare person to find my when I was out and about. I'm 53 years old now, with more time behind than what is in front of me. It's hard for me to describe how it feels to have such a personal experience without feeling regret for time wasted or unexplored. My time with George, as short-lived as was to be, seems more important to me than most of my relationships since then, and yet he was considered imaginary at best. I've only been watching you on YouTube for a few months now, but have a better understanding of what actually happened to me. I'm not surprised by so many of the stories that you have read that some are good and some are unpleasant, just as many of your followers and members of the round table have expressed. I agree that just like any day going to the store, you never know who you'll meet. I'm a Christian and have trouble with determining what is right or wrong with my beliefs when it comes to this subject. On one hand, it's normal, but on the second hand, people are not supposed to question and should stick to the Bible, which has very little to say about the subject. Yeah, I would like some answers too. Not about George, but about the world we are living in and why it seems so messed up. Come here. What are you doing? What are you doing? Being bad? Here. I think she just realized there's a grizzly bear looking at her. Sorry. But I digress. These are personal questions, really. What matters is how we conduct ourselves each day, moment to moment. In the end, that is all we can do. I want to thank you for your presenting what you believe to be correct and your reasons for doing so. I appreciate you for being in the position you have to allow so many people to express themselves in the hopes of finding clarity, answers, or simply be heard and understood. If you or anyone else would like to contact me, please feel free to do so. My door is always open to the right crowd. Warren G. Behringer. Warren, appreciate that, man. I'm not familiar with your name, and I'm not familiar with a previous email. So hopefully, once I go in, I'll remember to do a search and see if I can find that previous email. And if I don't, maybe you could do me a small favor and resend your original email to me, okay? I'm sorry, you guys, if I got interrupted and butchered a little bit there, but I got this camera sitting on a tripod, and those little pricks knocked the same tripod over with that brand new $1,600 camera and busted it. So, I wasn't too 100% focused. Now they're eating plastic. Quit it, stupid! Anyway, I'm gonna go in, frozen. I wanna see what these fish look like on video that I caught. Can't wait to relive it. I love reliving it and sharing it. And I gotta get these goats out of here before they break something. And tomorrow I pack. Not sure if I'm gonna leave tomorrow or not. If I don't leave tomorrow, I'm definitely leaving the day after tomorrow. I'm going to the north, I'm bringing all these with me, and I'm putting them in some secluded, remote places. And I can't wait to go find them later on and see what's on them. Anyway, I can't help it. I keep every time the title celebrity wildlife biologist busts into brain, it makes me laugh. I can't help it, and it's very sincere laughter. Celebrity wildlife biologist. Holy shit. What's next? I'll be back. Oh, I'm on! Yes! It's a nice chrome one. Beautiful freaking fish. I've not had a steelhead day like this good in years.